Game day food, it'll pair perfectly with a Coke. Together, tastes better. And by Georgia Power, the official energy sponsor of your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Visit us at georgiapower.com/community. Power on, Georgia. Now, let's join your host, the voice of the Yellow Jackets, Andy Demetra.
The Yellow Jackets are back to work, and so are we. Welcome in, everyone, to a new edition of GT60. Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh under the lights in Atlanta this Saturday, 7 p.m. Tomies Leather at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Can't wait to see you there, and we will break down that matchup and much more over the next hour on GT60. If you have a question for us tonight, you know what to do. Tweet us using the hashtag GT60. I'm Andy Demetra, and without further ado, let's welcome in the head coach of your Yellow Jackets, refreshed out of the bye, the man himself, Coach Jeff Collins. How are you?
Doing great.
How does a Week 9 bye week vary from a Week 4 bye week like the one you had in late September?
Yeah, so we adjust everything. Everything that we do is based on data and science. Ryan Horton, our Director of Applied Science, runs all the numbers, all the metrics, chronic player load, cumulative effects on the body throughout the season, and make sure we have a really good plan. I thought we executed the plan really well during the bye week, got a lot of good work in, got a lot of young players some work, but also got some really good recovery with some guys that have had to play a lot of ball against some really good teams the last month.
Still the same level of self-scouting
later
in the
always,
season as
always.
early? Gotcha. And you'll put that to good use against Pittsburgh on Saturday. What are the areas, since this is the first time that we visited you since the Notre Dame game, areas that you're looking to build upon from that Notre Dame game?
Yeah, I mean, we played well at times in the game against what is now one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country. We played 16 true freshmen, so a lot of guys got a really good taste of playing at a high level on a big stage. And, going into the fourth quarter, we were competitive and, just continue to build with a young roster in the midst of everything that's going on in the world right now. But just really proud of the way they come to work every single day and continue to improve at a high level.
Do you view your team's performance against Notre Dame any differently in light of what the Irish did last Saturday, hanging 47 in a win over number 1 Clemson?
Nah, I mean, it's just every single week in college football is a different week. And, I thought they went into the game, our guys went into the game against Notre Dame with the right mindset, went in there to play ridiculously hard, compete, play with great effort, play together, and, didn't end up with the win, but they competed really, really hard. I'm really proud of them.
You wore the Black Watch throwback uniforms, and I think you paid them proper homage by getting a defensive touchdown. It wasn't just any defensive score. It was a school record fumble return, 93 yards. Wanya Thomas got the strip. Zamari Walden gets the glory in his name in the record books by running it all the way back. Now, we should add the caveat that the NCAA did not start tracking fumble return yardage as an official statistic until 1992, so that's when Georgia Tech's fumble return statistics began in the media guide. That doesn't diminish at all the strength of that record. And it wasn't just that play. You guys have 8 fumble recoveries this year, which is second most in the nation. But I want to start with that particular play. Set it up for us, walk us through it, and what enabled you guys to pounce on that ball and take it to the house.
Yeah, it just goes back to everyday fundamental drills that we do. Coach Thacker does a chaos circuit once a week where we ball disrupt and work on creating turnovers. Then we do a turnover circuit every week as well. So it's just part of our process, part of our DNA. 2 years ago, we were one of the top creating turnover teams in the country. We led the country in defensive touchdowns, so that is part of our DNA. We're still in the phases of implementing all the things that we're going to be doing and are continuing to do. And the guys are buying into it, and getting the ball back to our offense is key to what we're trying to do every single game. We work on it every week.
How do you teach going for the strip? Because when I watch other football games, college, NFL, what always agitates me is when I see guys try to go for the punch-out or for the strip and not the tackle, and they wind up giving up 5, 10, 15 extra yards. How do you kind of to strike that balance and teach that effectively to your players?
We do it every single day. The 4 circuits that we do, the 4 drills that are involved in the circuits on the chaos, are specifically designed for every different kind of angle that you could have, on the ball carrier to disrupt the ball and on the quarterback as well. So we teach the securing, we teach the strips from all the different angles that you could, be in a football game. And I think Coach Thacker and the defensive staff do a really good job of understanding and teaching those mechanics, and our guys have bought into it. You see them every single day at practice. Even if an equipment manager is walking around with the ball, they better be walking around with that ball tight and secure, or it's going to get poked at.
Is that why your managers also wear the receivers' gloves at practice as well?
I think this probably has something to do with the smart kids.
Yeah, well, you got to simulate the conditions everywhere you go. Once again, it's Georgia Tech versus Pittsburgh. Back-to-back years that Georgia Tech plays host to the Panthers, 7 p.m., Tommy's Leather. We know about the mystique of Bobby Dodd Stadium and Georgia Tech at night, we should say.
Oh, yeah.
And Georgia Tech will not only have mystique, but it'll also have a streak. You guys have won 7 consecutive Saturday night ACC home games, so I know you're hoping for another lively atmosphere and make that streak move up to 8.
Absolutely.
Like it. Tommy's Leather, 7 o'clock. We'll take your questions in just a moment. Once again, on Twitter, the hashtag is GT60. Just getting underway here with the head coach of the Yellow Jackets, Jeff Collins, and our special guest in the second half hour, your wide receivers coach, Kerry Dixon.
Yes,
Good
sir,
K2.
K2.
Coach K2 now in the second half of the hour. So questions for Coach Kerry Dixon. You can load those up on Twitter as well with the hashtag GT60. We'll hit our first time out. Much more after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Today tastes like game day at home, like assigned couch seating. Tastes like coffee table dining and an ice-cold Coke to cool down the heat. It tastes like the game you've waited for all week with friends you've known your whole life. Today tastes like watching football is supposed to, and it never tasted this good. Coca-Cola, together tastes better.
It's not just our color, it's our commitment. It defines us, drives us. It's our standard and our pursuit. When you come to the flats, you need to remember something. Our gold is unbreakable, forever gold-blooded. We are Georgia Tech football.
GT60 will be right back after these local messages on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
The cooler weather is finally here, and that means it's the time of the year when pests and wildlife intruders start seeking food and shelter inside homes. Luckily, you can call the pros at Arrow Exterminators to keep your home, business, and tailgate pest-free. Arrow Exterminators is trusted to keep a pest-free zone at the Yellow Jackets home, so rest assured that with Arrow, you're getting the best from the best. Schedule a free home evaluation today. Call 888-GO-ARROW or visit arrowexterminators.com.
Follow the Yellow Jackets with Everyday Champions, the official magazine of Georgia Tech Sports. Each issue contains exclusive stories and photos, plus the latest news from inside Tech athletics. It's all that's positive about the Jackets. Subscribe now for only $9.95 per year. Call 1-888-877-4373, extension 3799 to sign up for Everyday Champions. That's 1-888-877-4373, extension 3799.
With GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College, talking all things Yellow Jacket athletics. To be a part of today's show, send your question on Twitter using hashtag GT60. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Jackets, Andy Demetra.
Football season is here. That means it's time to load up on the best snacks and some delicious ice-cold Coke for all your game day guests. Nothing tastes like everyone you love and everything you like coming together. Coca-Cola, together tastes better. How about that for some product placement here on the Behind the Mic video stream? And we appreciate all of you watching in addition to listening tonight. It's GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. We are going to be joined by Kerry Dixon in the second half hour. Kerry is still in his wide receivers meeting. You got any curveballs you want me to throw at him?
No, actually, my daughter Astra and I FaceTimed when I walked into the receivers meeting earlier, so she got to connect with all the guys earlier tonight. So, I mean, he does a great job with that group. I've known Kerry for a long time now and just really proud that he's on our staff.
He's extra popular in the Collins household then.
He is. His son, Trey, and my daughter Astra about the same age. They grew up together, and it's really cool.
So we talked about what you guys did on the field during the bye week. Bye weeks also look different for the coaches this year because the weekends where you're not playing, in an ordinary year, you guys are pounding the pavement, you're concrete cowboys, you're watching games, visiting with prospective recruits, going to different high schools. How are these off weekends different now for coaches because you can't do any of that this fall?
No, I mean, it's a lot of good family time. I remember last year during the bye week going and flying a helicopter to see Jahmyr Gibbs play, and then take that same helicopter, flew in to see Jared Ivey play. So two guys that are making huge contributions for us right now on the field, and we're not doing none of those things anymore. But it's really nice, man, to get to spend time with my wife and my daughter during the bye week because obviously during the season we don't get a lot of that. So, it's a blessing and, those kind of things.
You can still, I'm sure, watch some guys who have either verbally committed or you're following games that are on video stream, but that's the extent of it, though, right?
Absolutely.
Something you brought up in your press conference yesterday that I think needs reinforcing. We've seen just today a raft of cancellations in college football, SEC, Big Ten, and it just reinforces how fragile this college football season remains on a week-to-week basis. And you took time in your press conference to salute your players for the discipline and the dedication that they've shown throughout this season with their testing, with their adherence to this kind of semi-monastic lifestyle that is not maybe what they had in mind when they thought about being a collegian, but without which you wouldn't be able to play every Saturday and be able to get every game in as you have so far, knock on wood. Can you kind of touch a little more on just what you've seen from your players and that dedication that maybe goes unseen and to a degree underappreciated that really ought to be brought into the spotlight more?
It's amazing, man. I don't know if we have enough time on the show just to talk about how impressed I am with the young men that are in our program, the things that they have to go through, the protocols, the mitigation strategies, the constant bombardment from me and the rest of our coaching staff about wearing their masks, doing the right thing all the time. And they still come to work every single day, still go to one of the top 4 academic schools in the country. They live in a major city, one of the biggest cities in the Southeast, if not the biggest, with the largest population, and they still handle everything with class and integrity and character and do the right things for each other and for the team and for our families because we're all involved in this. The same thing with our coaching staff's families, everybody associated with the program, the student equipment managers, the student trainers. I mean, it is just mind-blowing, the level of care and the level of effort and the level of thoughtfulness that is just that has to be undertaken every single day with everybody associated with our program, with our families, with our coaches, with our players, and just ridiculously proud of who they are and how they trust in us, believe in us, and are doing the right things. So I'm proud of them.
Yeah, probably something that should not be lost as we now move into the final stretch of the season. You did receive some news during the bye week. Bleacher Report came out with an article where they re-ranked everybody's 2020 recruiting classes. You guys already had a top 25 recruiting class. Bleacher Report re-ranked you guys and gave you a bit of a jump. Now number 8 in the nation. And it hasn't just been the Jahmyr Gibbses and Jeff Simses and Jordan Williamses. There have been other guys, 16 freshmen, as you mentioned earlier. Yeah, true freshmen who saw the field versus Notre Dame. Let's talk about some of these other guys who have muscled their way into playing time and what you're seeing out of them that has them now in the last half of the season ready to make a contribution.
Well, the cool thing is the big thing, Andy, with us is we don't just worry about collecting talent. We have a set of skills that we want to acquire at each position, length, size, speed, those kind of things. But it doesn't just stop there like it does at a lot of places. We look at character. We look at their developmental profile. So how they can apply what we teach them, their skill set, their size, speed, their frame, and what they're going to do once they get into our program, which is a developmental program. Because if they don't have the right mindset, if they don't have the desire to do something special in their college career, even in their NFL career, whatever that may be, there's going to be a cap on their development. So a big thing that we talk about in our program is a developmental profile. And the guys that we signed came here because of the things that we sell in our culture. the effort, the toughness, the grit, the energy, the positive vibe. That's why they chose to come here, because they know we're building something special. And you can see it every single day when they come to work, when they come into the locker room. And one of my favorite quotes about this recruiting class, it's highly talented. There's a lot of great athletes. David Curry early in July, when they were all starting to be around, I'm like, how are the new guys fitting into the culture? And the best quote that David Curry said was, Coach, they are the culture. They came here because of you guys, because of what you sell, because of what you promote, and they live it and breathe it every single day. And, proud of the older guys for buying into the things that we preach and promote, which not necessarily, were something that was common to them, and they're trying to teach it to these guys in real time. But we're not just collecting talent. We're building a program that's going to be successful for a long time. And
that was your first full recruiting cycle.
Yes.
So that has to make you even more excited that it's getting acknowledged not just on signing day, but once you go into the season and seeing guys get onto the field. Jared Ivey, Kyle Kennard, you mentioned Tyson Miguez. We saw Nate McCollum see a lot of playing time. Ryan
Ward.
King, who unfortunately you announced earlier this week, he's out for the remainder of the season. Who else? Who are some of those other freshmen who have stood out to you?
Yeah, so Billy Ward is playing a lot for us on special teams. He had to fill in when the two Dylans weren't able to play those 2 games. Paula Tuve-Vapulu, I think I nailed it just then with my pronunciation of his name. He's going to be doing some big things for us. But there's so many. Miles Brooks is starting to have a integral role on special teams. He's going to be a big-time player for us. And just the list goes on and on of guys that are starting to contribute. Avery Boyd, Ryan King, we think they have bright futures for us at receiver. Obviously, sadly, they're out for the season with injuries, but they're going to be big-time receivers in this program. Both of them are 6'3" plus, 218 plus, and both of them run sub 4.5s, and they've got the right attitude, the right mindset that we're looking for in this program.
Jared got his first TFL of his career against Notre Dame.
Yep. He's going to be a really good player. He's got the right mindset. He's got the right attitude, and he's 6'6", 255 pounds, stepping in on campus. So just excited about that group, but also the older guys in this program that every single day come to work to help lay the foundation and do something really special with this team.
Yeah, it's not just about the young guys and the talent they flash. It's about the upperclassmen taking it upon themselves to shepherd
100%.
them and get them to the point where they're on the field and not just filling a space, but they're making impact plays, and we started seeing some of that against Notre Dame. Once again, it's Georgia Tech versus Pittsburgh this Saturday, 7 o'clock. Kickoff will be on the air with our network pregame at 5. Questions tonight for Jeff Collins or wide receivers coach Kerry Dixon, who's queued up at the bottom of the hour. Tweet us using the hashtag GT60. Saturday's game, by the way, is presented by Delta, the official airline of your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Much more GT60 after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Today's matchup, Skin Energy partners up with Georgia Tech football to take on your old natural gas provider. Just like how the Yellow Jackets swarm the field, Georgia residents will be eager to stiff-arm high prices and get real savings on natural gas. Visit skinenergy.com to take it to the house, your house. Passing up on these rates would be a complete debacle. So make a winning call and dial 877-GO-SCANA or visit skinenergy.com for great service and great rates this fall. Touchdown!
Today tastes like game day at home, like assigned couch seating. Tastes like coffee table dining and an ice-cold Coke to cool down the heat. It tastes like the game you've waited for all week with friends you've known your whole life. Today tastes like watching football is supposed to, and it never tasted this good. Coca-Cola, together tastes better.
Back with more after this timeout. You're listening to GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Atlanta, home of clout, home of culture, home of Georgia Tech. But it's not enough to represent a city. You have to reflect it. And our story is Atlanta's story. A place that influences and innovates. A place that doesn't wait for change, it creates it. A place of relentless drive and undeniable swagger. With a storied past and unstoppable future. That's Atlanta. That's Georgia Tech. So let others wish they were here or pretend they're from here. We are here. And when you take this celebrated program in this world-class city, you get an electricity unlike anything in college football. Welcome to Atlanta, and what's the good word? This is Georgia Tech football.
We're talking Georgia Tech athletics in this week's edition of GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. To be a part of today's show, send your question on Twitter using hashtag GT60. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Jackets, Andy Demetra.
Hyatt Regency Atlanta has rambling rates all season. Visit HyattRegencyAtlanta.com and use offer code GTAG. Hyatt Regency Atlanta, preferred partner of Georgia Tech Athletics, as we welcome you back to GT60 on this Wednesday night, getting you ready for Tech and the Pitt Panthers Saturday, 7 p.m. First time Georgia Tech will have a Saturday night home ACC game since 2018 versus Miami. Look forward to seeing you here at the best backdrop in college football. If not, we'll take care of you on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Coach, every time I'm preparing for a new game, I obviously listen to the press conferences of the opposing head coach. And like clockwork, every coach this season, after Florida State, of course, has praised Jeff Sims and had a lot of glowing, laudatory remarks about your freshman quarterback.
Yep.
In what ways have you observed a better understanding from Jeff as this season has gone on and how he operates the offense, even in plays that might not result in yards, but you watch it back on film and you say, okay, yeah, he gets it now.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's a gym rat. He's always in Coach Patno's office. I mean, I'll go walking through because Dave's office is right down the hall from mine, and I'll go walking by, and invariably Jeff Sims is in there watching tape. Then I'll walk through the building a later part of the day, and there's Jeff Sims in there watching with some of the offensive line, wearing masks, keeping distance, but they're in there watching tape. He just loves ball. He has a vision for what he wants to accomplish while he's here. He has a vision for what he wants to accomplish once he moves on to the next level. But, I mean, he's just a really good kid that really has a high care factor. To coin a phrase from earlier, he has a high developmental profile, and he just continues to get better every single rep, every single day. And that's a testament to how he was brought up and who he is as a young man. So, I mean, we're really proud to coach him.
It's the complexity that takes a while for somebody to grasp, no matter where he is at that stage in his development. Is there an example or two you can give us of what you've seen from Jeff where he's understanding the complexity now and doing the right things mentally to enable him to have success?
Well, there's a lot of things, too, that we've had to adjust to help him come along and develop, even with how we handle our cadences, how we handle our snaps, how we handle mic IDs, all those kind of things. And I just think that's a testament to Dave Patno and his relationship that they're able to evolve together and to just incrementally get better. One of the cool things, too, is Jeff has a really cool personality. He's got a positive vibe about him, and you can just see it in certain times it start to come out. And I think over time, his personality, his vibe is infectious. He's yet to really let it loose, but just really proud of him and just how he can communicate with the older guys, communicate with the guys in his class, because being a starting quarterback is no small task in and of itself. Then you throw in you're a true freshman and, play against two top four teams in the last 3 weeks and just continue to have a positive attitude and resilience. I don't know if I can say enough good things about him.
So after the first bye of the season, the very next game was Louisville, was it not?
Yep.
And he earned ACC Rookie of the Week.
Yep.
I know you're hoping for a similar performance out of the bye versus Pittsburgh on Saturday. Looking back to that first bye, where do you think you saw the biggest leap from Jeff, and how was he able to replicate that perhaps during the bye this past week?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that he learned from weeks 1 through 3 and then through that first bye week. that I think really paid off for him. I don't want to discount, the University of Pittsburgh has one of the top 5 defenses in college football. They play tight coverage all the way around, and they have one of the best defensive fronts in college football. But I think he's finally learning to know where to go with the football, get his pre-snap indicators, so he has confidence once he gets the snap exactly where to go with the ball, first, second, third progression if need be. And then we've all seen what a tremendous athlete Jeff is, and he can make plays with his feet and, keep plays alive.
We'll talk about Pitt's defense a little more. I want to switch to your defense first. Sure. And coaches value consistency, and Quez Jackson has given you plenty of consistency.
Absolutely.
57 tackles. He's led your team in tackles in 5 of 7 games this year. What have you liked out of his performance and his consistency, what he brings to you every Saturday?
Sure, absolutely. And he's plugged in at our Willie backer position, which over time, has been a very productive player in our defense at the last places that we've been at with this scheme. And Jaquez is stepping into that high-profile role, and he's capitalizing on it, right? So we do a lot of things to make sure that position is free. John Brooks up front, the defensive lineman, keep him free and let him run and make plays. But just been really proud of just how tenacious he is, how he's really developed into a really good tackler. Just how he's gotten better, taking all the technique and fundamentals that Coach Thacker and our defensive staff teach and is applying them at a high level. And, he's just a tenacious competitor and, just really proud of how he's progressed since we've been here. And it's paying off for him in a big way.
I think he began the year 18 consecutive tackles without a miss.
Awesome.
So, when he wraps up a guy, he's stopping. And his cousin, by the way, Greg Lloyd, the former Pro Bowl linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's certainly a name that Panther fans may know well. And I'm sure they will not like the fact that there is a blood relation to Greg Lloyd that'll be stalking Pitt's offensive players on Saturday. Let us talk, though, about this Panthers defense. Like you said, they're number 1 in the nation in tackles for loss. They're number 1 in sacks per game. What makes them so salty?
Man, they just have an elite front 4. They play tight coverage. They deny all the throws. They don't give you easy access throws. And the front 4 is relentless. And they play at a high level, and they've got tremendous talent up front. So it's a big challenge, and excited to see our guys go out there and compete with them.
Their quarterback, Kenny Pickett, returned after a 2-game injury absence, led them to the win last Saturday at Florida State. His head coach, Pat Narduzzi, calls him maybe the most underrated quarterback in the country. Of course, that's his own head coach talking, but nonetheless, he's a 3-year starter, has racked up a lot of passing yards. Give us the profile of Kenny Pickett and the guy you'll be facing on Saturday.
Yeah, he's really good. I mean, he knows exactly where to go to the ball. He's got a quick release, makes decisions, can keep plays alive with his feet. He's got a very talented true freshman receiver that is making a lot of plays for him. But they do a lot of things formationally. They don't try to give you the same picture twice, maybe not even in a game or in a couple of games. So there's going to be a lot of unique looks. And, he knows where to go with the ball. He can get it there. And so it's a big challenge.
That being said, you held them to 21 points here last year. You seemed, by and large, to make them earn their yardage last season.
20, but yes, I think they're very talented. But our guys, had the right mindset. We've got to replicate that on Saturday night under the lights, Bobby Dodd Stadium, in front of the home crowd.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, Georgia Tech also brings in a 7-game win streak, and Saturday night, ACC home games. You have the mystique of Bobby Dodd. You have the stakes of the conference game. You have Saturday night. Should be a great atmosphere. Can't wait to visit with you on Saturday. Can't wait for Tomey's Leather. And we'll catch up with you after a victory on Saturday. Coach?
Thanks, Andy.
All right,
Thanks,
sounds good. Head coach Jeff Collins, he'll kick him loose, and we'll go to wide receivers coach Kerry Dixon on the other side of the break. You are listening to GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Even before the victory celebration is over, great teams are back at it the next day, working to get even better. The team at Ford understands how hard work and dedication pay off. Over the last 30 years, Ford Explorer has been America's best-selling SUV. In fact, all Ford SUVs, like Explorer, Escape, and Edge, are built for victory. Score a great offer today at your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Based on total cumulative OEM reported U.S. sales for all SUVs from calendar year 1990 through calendar year 2019.
Today tastes like game day at home. Like assigned couch seating. Tastes like coffee table dining and an ice-cold Coke to cool down the heat. It tastes like the game you've waited for all week with friends you've known your whole life. Today tastes like watching football is supposed to. And it never tasted this good. Coca-Cola. Together tastes better.
GT60 will be right back after these local messages on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. The Ramblin' Wreck.
Down over the shoulder, makes the catch.
Are ready to roll.
Sims lobs it left side of the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Jackets.
This is Yellow Jacket football.
Unbelievable drama and unbelievable guts.
Saturday, Georgia Tech battles Pittsburgh. Kickoff at 7 with pregame coverage starting at 5. Right here on your home for the Yellow Jackets.
The cooler weather is finally here, and that means it's the time of the year when pests and wildlife intruders start seeking food and shelter inside homes. Luckily, you can call the pros at Arrow Exterminators to keep your home, business, and tailgate pest-free. Arrow Exterminators is trusted to keep a pest-free zone at the Yellow Jackets home, so rest assured that with Arrow, you're getting the best from the best. Schedule a free home evaluation today. Call 888-GO-ARROW or visit arrowexterminators.com.
With GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Talking all things Yellow Jacket athletics. To be a part of today's show, send your question on Twitter using hashtag GT60. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Jackets, Andy Demetra.
Hey, want to tell you that Georgia Tech trusts CleanWell to protect the athletic program from COVID, and you can too. CDC-approved COVID killer. Check them out at www.cleanwell.services. Today, as we welcome you back to GT60 on this Wednesday night, Georgia Tech versus Pittsburgh coming your way Saturday at Bobby Dodd. And as promised, let's welcome into the program in his second season with the Georgia Tech staff. Certainly not his second season on the staff of Jeff Collins.
Yeah.
His wide receivers coach, Kerry Dixon. Kerry, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I want to start off with the trick play touchdown pass that Amarian Brown threw to Jalen Camp against Louisville. I can only presume that Amarian spun it so well because his position coach was a former quarterback in college. Is it true that it looked so pretty off his hands because he got his throwing acumen from you?
You know, I would like to take credit for that. I wish I could, but I think that's going to go to his parents, Bobby and Rebecca. You know, it's genetics.
Okay.
He actually was a quarterback before he actually played receiver.
Really now?
Yeah, and we did a throwing contest one of the days during OTAs. We were just having some fun. I destroyed them, by the way, in that game. And he was the second best thrower out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was actually a tryout. We do those things to have fun, but we also see what else they can do. So we found an opportunity to put him in. He was the first guy there. We got a couple of other guys that can do that. But I'm glad he threw it with some touch, made it easy to throw.
Yeah.
And he could have been selfish. He could have ran it in.
That's true.
But he was being a great team player.
He wanted to get the infinity passer rating.
Oh,
is
no
what
question.
He wanted. Yeah. So you won that passing competition in the OTAs.
Yes.
How sore was your shoulder afterwards?
Very, very.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. But, hey, that's the price of glory.
No question.
So we talked about Jeff Sims, and a freshman quarterback is sometimes only as good as the reliability of his receivers. Can you give us an assessment of the way that your group has handled the challenges and the commitment of playing with a true freshman quarterback?
Yes, they've done an awesome job as far as their communication with him is great. They give him great feedback on what they see and different things that he's seen, and he's coming along as a leader and talking to those guys more and helping those guys understand what his thought process is on plays. I think they've done an unbelievable job of being unselfish and just going out there to play to the best of their ability to help him out. So anytime they get an opportunity, they try to make great plays on the ball.
Have you seen that communication translate into more smoothness as the season has gone on as far as the communication between Jeff and your receivers?
Oh, definitely. It's just like anything. When you have more comfortability with someone, you can have more genuine conversations that actually end up helping us grow together. So as the time has gone, Those guys have built a great rapport with one another. The communication on the sidelines is awesome now. They can just come back, say what they saw in the last play, and we can go out and execute a lot better on the next drive.
It's been a lot of fun to watch Jalen Camp in his redshirt senior season have by far his best season on the flats, 20 catches, tied for the team lead. He has shown the last couple of games an ability to get behind the defense, had that 59-yard touchdown catch versus Clemson, followed it up with, I think, a 37 or 39-yarder against Notre Dame.
Right.
You were telling me it's not that he's not an explosive receiver, but he's not the speed merchant of, say, Amarian Brown or perhaps some of his other teammates, but his ability to rip off those chunk plays, it begins at the line of scrimmage, you told me. Can you explain that?
Yes, so one of the things with Jalen, we have to be technically sound in everything we do. So we have to eliminate wasted motion. And a lot of the receivers nowadays want to watch YouTube and get their moves off of what they might see Antonio Brown doing. But you have to know what your strengths are. So our biggest thing to him was, let's get into our route faster. Once I get into my route faster, there's a technique to separate on the second level. He now understands how the DB is trying to play him, what his leverage standpoint is, and how can I really rock this guy to sleep at the top of the route. So he's winning at the line of scrimmage, but he's also winning at the top of the route, and that's helping him create separation on those deep balls. So him just being technically sound and buying into the process. One of the things that I love about Jalen, when we break down the defensive backs for every team, just his wherewithal and knowledge of everything that defender is going to do before the game even gets there. So he understands the techniques and fundamentals of even that defensive back. So whenever you have a guy with that skill set as far as his ball skills, he understands his limitations, and he studies the game so much that he's going to see success on Saturdays.
You're not only trying to game plan for a scheme and scout for a scheme, but you're also trying, like you said, to discern the tendencies of individual defensive backs. How long does it take you to get a good working scouting report profile of an opposing team's defensive backs and what they like to do?
So one of the things that we do and we pride ourselves on is early in the week, we actually get a tab on each one of them and how they play technically in man coverage and certain zone coverages. So we try to figure out what releases can we use to better help us attack whatever they're trying to do. So it doesn't really take us long. At the beginning of the week, we as a staff, me and Coach Glover, come up with certain things that we can present to the receivers. Later on in the week, they have to regurgitate whatever they see and anything extra. So there's a lot of work that goes into us creating separation and getting open on the outside.
Okay, yeah, you know, it's the individual tendencies, weaknesses perhaps that can be exploited from cornerbacks. That's all part of the conversation early in the week and kind of planting that seeds with your receivers so that when they line up, they have it preloaded in their mind what I can do to get some separation, get a good clean release, and ultimately finish the play with the ball in my hands. There is nothing sweeter, as you know. You started as a quarterback, but you converted to wide receiver. It feels good when you hear that leather against your receiving gloves, doesn't it?
No question. No question. I love it. You know, I made a lot of good plays on the outside when I was at Hampton University, and, you know, that transition and just doing whatever helps the team is one of the things that I loved about it.
Questions for Kerry Dixon? Get him on Twitter right now using the hashtag GT60. We'll hit another timeout. Much more after this. By the way, Yellow Jacket fans, be sure to visit GeorgiaPower.com/community to learn new ways to stay connected. Georgia Power, the official energy sponsor of Georgia Tech Athletics. Power on Georgia. Much more GT60 after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Sir, you're now being placed on arrest for driving under an influence.
What does that mean?
That means you've earned a night in the Grape Bar Motel. During your stay, you'll be photographed, fingerprinted, and given a stylish jumpsuit. And each room has an en-suite bathroom.
Is all this free?
Oh, no. Fines, court costs, and legal bills could add up to $10,000 or more.
Save your money for a real hotel. Drive sober or we will pull you over.
This message brought to you by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. Make your wallet buzzworthy with a Georgia Tech Visa debit card from Georgia United Credit Union. Now you can support Tech everywhere you go and spend. And every time you use your card, you'll be supporting Georgia Tech student athletes. Georgia United makes banking easy with advanced digital banking features. Check out Georgia United's checking account with no monthly service fee and ability to earn interest and show your Jacket pride. United, we fan. Visit gucu.org/GoJackets, insured by NCUA. Georgia United, the official debit card of Georgia Tech Athletics.
Back with more after this timeout. You're listening to GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
If you know college football history, then you know us. Heisman coached here. Megatron played here. 222 points in a game. They were scored here. And 4 national titles, they were won here. All on the same field where we still play today. When you come to the Flats of Atlanta, gold isn't just what you wear, it's who you are. We're more than an institute. We're a college football institution. Proud of our history, driven to make more. Welcome to where tradition meets innovation, where toe meets leather, where white meets gold. This is Georgia Tech football.
We're talking Georgia Tech athletics in this week's edition of GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. To be a part of today's show, send your question on Twitter using hashtag GT60. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Jackets, Andy Demetra.
If you're looking for the official face coverings for your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, then look no further. Visit Foco.com now and get the gear the team wears. Foco.com has the official face coverings of Georgia Tech athletics. So head on over to Foco.com to shop these and many more officially licensed Georgia Tech products. Visit Foco.com, that's Foco.com, and find something for the special Yellow Jackets fan on your list. Go Foco. And go Jackets. Andy Demetra joined by wide receivers coach Kerry Dixon here on GT60. Boy, it was muggy out of practice today. It felt like early September, not November 11th, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it was awesome, though. I like that. I like the mugginess.
Wednesdays, coming off the big Tuesday game plan install, for a wide receivers, Wednesdays, what's the big focus for you guys on that practice field?
So Wednesdays, that's a huge situational day for us. So we do a lot of third down and a lot of red zone, short yardage goal line. So we really hone in to what our game plan is in those certain situations. So our day is really just going through schematics. It's not as much technique. It's knowing what they're going to do in certain situations, so having an idea of what we're going to see on Saturday.
Earlier in the program, we talked with Coach Collins about recruiting and how that's changed now. During this fall. We have to speak in generalities again about recruiting, but this is one I've wanted to ask you for a while.
Okay.
The impact that a young, very talented quarterback like a Jeff Sims has had on your recruitment of wide receivers, and particularly how that has changed since a lot of folks now have wisened up to just how good Jeff Sims is.
Right. So it's a lot easier having those conversations about you're going to be playing with a good quarterback, all right? So they see that. It's amazing the amount of kids that have reached out to me saying, hey, Coach, love what Jeff Sims is doing, very interested in your program. Just having that guy, and those guys all want to reach the next level. That's the ultimate goal for most high school wide receivers. They want to go to the NFL. To get there, they understand that they have to have somebody that can throw them the ball on Saturdays for them to make it to that level. So by having that guy, it creates great conversations, and it's easy for us to sell, for lack of better words, what we have here. Yep.
So a good QB is the best tool for a wide receiver coach on the recruiting trail, huh?
No question.
Ryan King, I know he's out for the season. Coach Collins made that announcement this week, but how had he started to come out and start to blossom from developmental to ATL?
So I was extremely proud of Ryan and his progress. Really didn't. I knew he was fast. I didn't know he was 22 miles per hour fast. And that showed up in the last couple of weeks. And the moment didn't seem too big for him when he got in the games. And over time, it was just a confidence factor with him as far as playing with aggressiveness all the time. One of the things about high school kids when they come to college, they have to understand that the DB is on scholarship too. He's going to go hard every single play. You have to go hard every single play. He started to understand that, and he started to play as such. And he realized he's 6'4", 220 pounds, and he started to use his body a lot better. And he has great body control, great initial quickness, and his ball skills are off the charts. So extremely excited about his future, and I was greatly excited about his growth.
6'4", 220, and he's clocking 22 miles per hour on catapult?
Yes.
That doesn't happen often.
I know.
That's good.
That's great.
That's why you brought him here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nate McCollum, we also saw him, speaking of true freshman from McDonough, Georgia, Dutchtown High. He stepped in for Amarian Brown there in the second quarter of the Notre Dame game.
Right.
Also started to see him on punt return. What excites you about the skills he possesses and how that can improve the wide receiving group?
So I announced to the group that I was extremely proud of Ryan, and I was extremely proud of Nate. Nate actually played almost 40 plays in the game. Nate got 0 snaps with the ATL group. Everything he did was with development.
Mm-hmm.
He had 0 MAs versus Notre Dame. 0. That means that he was locked into the game plan. He understood what we were trying to do, and he could go out there and execute. So, yeah, a lot of people will say, I'm a rep guy. I got to take these reps so I can understand. No, he did a great job of taking mental reps. So even when he wasn't in, he was locked into what was going on.
That's got to be a huge example, not only for fellow wide receivers, but other guys, other different positions.
Right. And Coach used it with the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
Just guys staying locked in, and it's one thing that we always talk about in this program. You never know when your number is going to be called. It's a next man's up mentality. And with the situation that we're in as a state of the country as well, too, you never know when your time is coming. So you always have to stay prepared and be ready to go.
And you always have to be prepared because you might have a day where you're targeted a lot. Other times you're targeted modestly. And Malachi Carter is maybe a bit on that roller coaster lately. Had some terrific catches in the touchdown versus Louisville.
Right.
Just one reception, though, his last 3 games. Anything that you've worked with Malachi on just to kind of get him back on track, or has he kept that same mindset throughout?
Malachi's mindset never changes, and that's what I love about him. Regardless of what's going on, he only wants to do his best at all times. He has a little things as far as family and stuff that drives him to be great. So when you come to practice and you see Malachi goes hard every single play. So he just takes pride in being out there and doing anything he can to help the team. As you remember, if you recall, last year there were a couple of games that he went without a catch, and then he turned around and had a really good game against NC State.
Yep.
So his mindset and his unselfishness has helped him grow and develop, and he'll continue to see success. You know, I know he's had this drought, but he'll see some success at the end.
That route he ran to get the touchdown late, which clinched it versus Louisville, that seemed like a thing of beauty.
Oh, it was awesome. And that was a great job by Jeff. So we run that route quite a bit, and we never throw it to that guy. It was designed to go to the outside guy. But when the safety jumped outside, Jeff actually did a great job with his eyes and saw Malachi slip inside the safety and turned and threw it to him, which is something we had never practiced. But that just goes to be ready when your number's called, and that goes to your quarterback being able to have the wherewithal to see it and make that throw.
Did Malachi anticipate that ball was coming to him?
He said he was hoping it was coming when the safety ran over the top.
Okay.
So when he came up to the side, he was like, Coach, I was hoping he saw me. And I'm glad he saw him, too, because that was a very, very big play.
He was hoping, but he might not have had a high expectation knowing that had never been thrown his way on that route in practice.
No, his whole job is to hold the safety inside. That was his total job. I'm to hold the safety inside. So I'm going to look this safety all the way up. Well, the safety jumped outside of me, Coach. I tried to do my job. Luckily, the quarterback saw me, and we threw a touchdown.
So he was basically a decoy on that play.
That's exactly what he is.
And he gets a touchdown for it.
Yes.
And all the glory.
That's why you have to be ready at all times.
See, I like this. I like when we talk with the assistant coaches because they reinforce all these things that you impart to your guys in the film room, in the position group room. They're really fun to see just the granular details of how something that you preach Monday through Friday really pays off on a Saturday. And Malachi, it seems, in the Louisville game was a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and I always tell those guys consistency is the hallmark of a champion. So if you're consistent in behavior, then you're going to see good things come up for you. So he's been consistent in his approach. He's been consistent in how he goes about his daily routine. And he's been consistent in his preparation, so he's going to see success.
Now, look forward to seeing much more success out of Malachi Carter, the Lawrenceville, Georgia native, in the games to come. And well, why not start Saturday versus the Pitt Panthers, 7 p.m., Tome's Leather. We'll take another timeout. More GT60 to follow on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
It's like game day at home, like assigned couch seating. Tastes like coffee table dining and an ice-cold Coke to cool down the heat. It tastes like the game you've waited for all week with friends you've known your whole life. Today tastes like watching football is supposed to, and it never tasted this good. Coca-Cola, together tastes better.
Even before the victory celebration is over, great teams are back at it the next day, working to get even better. The team at Ford understands how hard work and dedication pay off. Over the last 30 years, Ford Explorer has been America's best-selling SUV. In fact, all Ford SUVs, like Explorer, Escape, and Edge, are built for victory. Score a great offer today at your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Based on total cumulative OEM reported U.S. sales for all SUVs from calendar year 1990 through calendar year 2019.
GT60 will be right back after these local messages on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
The cooler weather is finally here, and that means it's the time of the year when pests and wildlife intruders start seeking food and shelter inside homes. Luckily, you can call the pros at Arrow Exterminators to keep your home, business, and tailgate pest-free. Arrow Exterminators is trusted to keep a pest-free zone at the Yellow Jackets home, so rest assured that with Arrow, you're getting the best from the best. Schedule a free home evaluation today. Call 888-GO-ARROW or visit arrowexterminators.com.
Follow the Yellow Jackets with Everyday Champions, the official magazine of Georgia Tech Sports. Each issue contains exclusive stories and photos, plus the latest news from inside Tech athletics. It's all that's positive about the Jackets. Subscribe now for only $9.95 per year. Call 1-888-877-4373, extension 3799 to sign up for Everyday Champions. That's 1-888-877-4373, extension 3799.
With GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College, talking all things Yellow Jacket athletics. To be a part of today's show, send your question on Twitter using hashtag GT60. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Jackets, Andy Demetra.
No matter your favorite game day food, it'll pair perfectly with a Coke. Together, tastes better. As we welcome you back to GT60, Andy Demetra hanging out with you and wide receivers coach Kerry Dixon on this Wednesday night. We've talked about some of your true freshmen, Nate McCollum and Ryan King. Avery Boyd, another guy whose season came to an end prematurely due to injury, but what upside does he possess that has you really excited to work with him?
You know, the thing that I love about him is he's passionate about it. He's passionate about the game, and he hasn't been playing football very long. You know, camp is very important to a lot of kids. He was a guy that came to camp, so his evaluation started at camp. And he came to camp, and he was extremely fast. He ran a 4.3 at our camp. And I watched him work through drills, and he had all the initial quickness that you need. He could get in and out of breaks really well. So once he got here, I knew there were going to be some things he needed to work on. But he made so many plays on the ball during OTAs and during early training camp. And even though he was raw, he still had a huge upside. He started to grow. He went through a little slump for about a week, and then he started to grow as far as his technique and understanding. And those are the things that you like to see as a coach. He was passionate about it. He was always in our offices trying to learn and really know exactly what he's doing. And he's another kid that Avery's 6'1", 218. and he's the fastest of all three.
Really?
Yes.
And Nate's pretty fast himself.
Nate's very fast. They've all three hit 22 on the catapult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jeff better wind up is what you're saying.
Yes.
And you better chuck it much farther than you think you need.
No doubt.
When a guy has not been playing a lot of high school football like Avery,
right,
in the evaluation process, how do you determine whether that's a hindrance versus something that has you excited that can be great upside because you know there's a lot that you can work with?
Right. So there's one thing about size and speed and then natural ball catching ability. So he has natural hands. That was one of the things that I noticed. I said, okay, he might not have the technique right now, but as a coach, that's my job, is to develop the technique. So I can work with size and speed and ability to catch the ball.
Okay.
The technique aspect of things, I can work with that and teach him those things so he can achieve what he wants to achieve.
His best football, no doubt, ahead of him, and always best to have your best days ahead of you in white and gold. We'll take one final timeout, Coca-Cola Acc Refresher, and then we'll close down this week's edition of GT60 after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Back with more after this timeout. You're listening to GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Let me tell you about Georgia Tech. On this campus, you'll find beauty, prestige, innovation. But one thing you won't find is a shortcut. That's how we like it. Because on this campus, we aren't afraid of a challenge. And on game day, we darn sure aren't afraid of a fight. You see, gold reflects. And here, it reflects us all. Toughness, tenacity, pride, passion. Those values bond us. They've made us an institute without equal. When you see the white and gold, you know what we stand for. And if you're an opponent, you know what you're in for. Welcome to Atlanta. Welcome to Georgia Tech football.
This is GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. For a look around the ACC, let's rejoin Andy Demetra for this week's ACC Refresher, brought to you by Coca-Cola. Together tastes better.
Well, our ACC schedule right now, a little longer than the SEC's, and that's good news. Let's hope it stays that way. All games on Saturday. Miami goes to Virginia Tech. Louisville visits Virginia. Florida State takes on North Carolina State in Raleigh. Notre Dame, following that overtime win versus number 1 Clemson, heads to Boston College. And rounding out the ACC action, Wake Forest at North Carolina. We'll join you Saturday, 7 p.m. Tommy's Leather, Georgia Tech, and Pittsburgh Network pregame 2 hours prior at 5. We wrap up with wide receivers. Coach Kerry Dixon and Jeff Collins told us in the first half of the show, Pitt, number 1 in the nation in a lot of different categories, but they play tight coverage. So for your wide receivers, what'll be the big keys to a successful Saturday?
So we have to do a really good job of just seeing the coverage as usual, per the usual, understanding what we're getting on the outside. They do a really good job playing man coverage with their corners. Their safeties disguise very well. So we just have to have great eye discipline on the outside and understand what techniques we need to get open.
Eye discipline is, from a wide receiver standpoint, meaning what?
We have to see the structure of the defense. So we always talk about reading our triangle and knowing where guys are going to be. You can get some keys off of that regardless of what defense that you play. So we just have to do a really good job of seeing the defense.
Seeing the defense. Right. Hey, if you see the defense well, we'll see that scoreboard with the Georgia Tech victory, and that would be certainly a sight to behold to cap off a Saturday night coming out of the bye. Kerry, we really appreciate the time. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes, it has. Thank you so much for having me.
Wide receivers coach Kerry Dixon. Let's thank head coach Jeff Collins as well. Our network engineer Miller Pope, Ben Worski spinning the dials on Behind the Mic, and Dan Courts inside the network studios. Andy Demetra for our entire crew. So long. Thanks for listening to GT60, everyone.
You've been listening to GT60 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.